Hi everyone, today we're going to take a look at the full moon chart in Capricorn. This is occurring on July 10th, 2025 at 4:37 p.m. Eastern Time, but times will vary depending on your location. There's a lot of excitement going on, not only because of the full moon, which usually we don't think of Capricorn as the excitement planet or the excitement sign too much, but there's excitement going on in other areas of the chart. But this is a full moon in Capricorn, and this can be for many a culmination of your intentions, maybe even your New Year's resolutions, because it's the full completion of the cycle, or the halfway point, or the completion, the culmination of the new moon in Capricorn, which was back at December 30th or December 31st, right around New Year's. So if you did make, usually I'm really poo-poo those New Year's resolutions. I say you got to go with your solar return. But if you did make some New Year's resolutions around that time, many of you could potentially see these things starting to manifest. Also because, you know, this big stuff about the Uranus going into Gemini, I think things are going to be really speeding up at the manifestation. Before we dive in too deep, I just want to let you know you are watching the Rock and Roll Prophetess on YouTube, and I'm Vickie Verlie, and you can find me at vickieverlie.com, where I do custom astrology art, readings, all sorts of things. I create decks, books, and different things. So if you want to find out more about me, make sure you go to my website, and do not be fooled by imposters. Yeah, I had another thought about the Uranus thing. I don't know if you watched some of you don't watch the astrology, and some do watch the astrology more and less of the tarot, and vice versa. But I did a whole video on Uranus, so you can go back to refer to that, but as always, there's always more thoughts coming in afterwards, you know, more insights and downloads. And the one thing that I got just this morning before I was going to sit down to do this reading is, you know, our words. Because we want to speak our words to manifest, write our words to manifest. That's, well, writing, speaking, that's Gemini, right? And sometimes, you know, we write and speak our manifestations over and over again. We do our morning things, and we talk, and we say our affirmations, and we say our affirmations. And it just seems like, you know, maybe it never happens for some people, or maybe it's, you know, it takes a very long time sometimes. With the Uranian energy, because Uranus is Mercury, okay, Mercury is Gemini, right? And Uranus is the ruler of Sagittarius. This is the ruler of Gemini, and this is the ruler of Sagittarius. It's the higher octave. It's vibrating at this higher level, and it's a quickening. So one of the things that I haven't heard anybody say, but came to me this morning, is our manifestations could really be speeding up. Where before, you know, you should be careful with your words. Really be careful with your words. It's not a time to be sarcastic and say, oh, I always suck, I'm such a loser, you know, these kinds of, oh, ha, 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 these little self-deprecating, you know, sarcasms about yourself, or what your endeavors are. This is not the time for that. Speak out what you really want to become, what you really want to be. Really mindful. Being really mindful of your words and your deeds and your actions and what you're writing out, because it could be manifesting more quickly than ever before. So before, you know, you'd be like, oh shoot, I caught myself saying that, and you may have time to go back and correct it, or, you know, it was so in such slow motion. Especially Uranus in the sign of Taurus was kind of just stuck in the mud. Now things are just shoo, you know, taking off quickly. Speaking of the Uranus, you know, it is conjunct Venus this time too. So this is really nice. It's captured in the full moon chart. Like I say when I do the solstice charts, or, you know, the solstice or the new and full moons, these ingress, these different major astrological events. It's a snapshot of the energy, okay? So this is the snapshot of the energy. It's a full moon, so it's a culmination. But it also, things that you're releasing now and that you're wanting to release, it's a powerful time to release, could be, you know, manifesting towards the end of the year normally. But I would say, you know, much, much quicker. The Uranus-Venus thing here, my guides are coming through with, it's just delightful. Isn't it delightful? Delightful and delectable, they're saying. If you've never seen my readings, my guides come through with some funny, like old-fashioned kinds of words sometimes. But yeah, those are cool words. Delightful, delectable, I'll take that, right? So Uranus and Venus. Venus is the goddess of love, creativity, money, you know, all the good stuff, all the juicy stuff in life. And they've got Uranus there. So some of you, especially if you have something at the low degrees of Gemini or mutable or air, So the mutable signs are going to be Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, and Sagittarius. And then the air signs are going to be Gemini, Aries, and I mean not Gemini, Aries, I'm Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra. So if you have planets there, you know, and it's trining, this stuff is trining with Pluto too. So such big transformation can take place, which can be scary. It can be a little scary. It can be a little ominous. Pluto has this, you know, it's the god of the underworld. There's this this aura of ominousity. Is that a word? Ominousness? I don't know. Well, yeah, ominous. You know, that's definitely a word that wants to come forth. But when you factor in the beautiful Venus and Gemini energy, that puts a different kind of spin on it. You know, that really puts a different kind of spin on it, and that brings things into the lighter, the brighter. Also, we've got, you know, of course, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. So it's squaring with this, or sextiling, excuse me, not squaring. It's sextiling. It's their sextile. And then trining with this. And this is all sextiling. So we've got all this trines and sextiles and fire and air. Pluto wants to make major transformation and change. Uranus wants to make change too. That's something they have in common. And then with the Saturn and Neptune, Neptune and Venus go together really nicely too. Both represent creativity, dreaming your dream into reality. Neptune's a little bogged down while he's traveling with Saturn over there, because Saturn is so kind of dead serious and slow moving and stuff like that. But Saturn is also the ruler of this full moon, because Saturn rules Capricorn, okay? So Saturn is important to look at just because of the full moon itself. The ruler of the full moon is conjunct Aries, and then is doing, I mean, conjunct Neptune and Aries, and making all these other aspects all around here. So, and the Capricorn full moon, you know, wants to make sure things are right too. Is it right? Is it really ready? You know, is it ripened? Is it fully ripened? Is it fully developed? So if there's some kind of an idea or something you're working on where, you know, with this Uranus Venus, you just want to spill it, you know, you just want to put it out there, you know, but is it stable? Is it long lasting? This is the energy that's working with it. Also, Uranus Venus totally could be falling in love unexpectedly. Maybe it's falling in love unexpectedly in a romantic way, but maybe you're going to fall in love unexpectedly with who knows what. Maybe you're going to start writing and journaling and saying, oh, I'm really falling in love with this. This really is helping me. Or maybe you're going to, you know, start walking every day and you really fall in love with that, because that's, you know, the Gemini energy too, and your neighbor, you know, neighborhood walking, you know, modes of communication, or, you know, riding horses, or for some, or whatever, you know. There's this, you could fall in love with a lot of different things. It doesn't necessarily have to be a person, but there could be this unexpected element to it. And even with the Saturn, like what I'm getting is like some people, it's just like walking, blah, you know, I don't want to walk, you know, or, you know, they just don't want to, they can't drag their ass up to do it. But then once they get out there, it's like, hey, you know what, I do feel better. It's good to get some fresh air. It's not strenuous. It's not like I'm, you know, killing myself. You know, it's a leisurely stroll every day is very refreshing, delightful and refreshing, they're saying. So it's very delightful and refreshing. Yeah, what's wrong with that? Nothing. Well, the other thing is about the full moon, it's making as strong aspects to the nodes, almost dead on. We've got the node, north node at 20 degrees of Pisces, trying the sun. And then we've got the south node at 20 degrees of Virgo, trying the full moon. So, of course, the nodes are the nodes of fate, right? Fate, destiny for the collective. So it's really making a stronger tie to the south node. So there could be things from the past that are bubbling up. Things from the past that are getting wrapped up or coming to culmination here with this full moon. Coming to culmination, getting wrapped up, tying up loose ends. People from the past, situations from the past, yes. You know, the Mars is there. It's kind of a wide 7 degrees. It looks like it's closer than it is. I usually try to go for like a 4 to 6 at the max degree orb. But, you know, it's 7 degrees. It's in there, I guess, you know. It's 5 degrees off of the full moon, so it's trining that full moon. You know, Mars is the god of war and all that stuff, like we say, but Mars is also ambition. Mars is rolling up your sleeve. Mars is getting motivated And Mars equals Aries. So Mars is the ruler of all this Aries stuff over here. Not only do we have the Saturn and the Neptune in Aries, but we've got the asteroid Ceres and the Chiron, the wounded healer, in Aries. So there's a lot of Aries energy too. So Mars is the ruler of that. So we want to look at what Mars is doing. Mars is getting amped up, and in the sign of Virgo can be very, I know it's not really that compatible, but can be very productive. Can be very productive of finding those little details, those little things that have to be corrected, those little things that have to be, looked over and found, the nooks and crannies, the little cracks, and what's that, the Cohen thing about the cracks are where the light comes through, So yeah, through the digging with the Mars in Virgo, we could find those little cracks, and that could potentially lead to these other big aha moments coming through from, the Uranus interaction and the newly arrived Uranus. Because after all, it's only been in there, when did it go on the 7th? So it's only been in there 3 days when this full moon hit. So it's really affecting the energy too. The other thing is, not only is the full moon ruled by Saturn, but I really don't use this that often, but Uranus is Saturn is the ancient ruler of Aquarius, which is Uranus now. I guess that's not quite right, but it's not quite wrong, but it doesn't really pertain. But, Uranus does have an affinity with Saturn in some ancient way. Let's just leave it at that. Okay, I'm being drawn to this Scorpio stuff over here. So we've got Lilith with Vesta and Juno, the girls, the women, the strong and powerful women being even stronger and more powerful in the sign of Scorpio. I'm hearing Goddess Divine. That's what the guys are saying. Yeah, Goddess Divine. And this, especially Juno, is trining pretty tight orb over here with our North Node, our true North. So Juno, the goddess of love and beauty, Pisces, the Neptune energy, the spiritual pursuit, the psychic, spiritual, subconscious endeavors, channeling the divine goddess, to some degree. You could even say that, to channeling that divine goddess. Other than that, too, this the lower degree Scorpio stuff, this Lilith and that is over down here trining over to Jupiter. So Jupiter's going to amplify and make more of, and Jupiter is in Cancer, which is the divine feminine. It's the moon, it's the mother, it's the feminine vibration for sure. And this other feminine, so the women, the strong, beautiful women, the feminine side, but not in a soft and submissive way. And that's not the vibe. The way is through inner strength, through demonstrations of core beauty. That's what my guides came through with. Demonstrations of core beauty. Holding that space, holding that energy. Sacral chakra, that really comes forward. The womb. What are we giving birth to? What is growing within us? What are we nurturing? Because that's what Saturn wants us to do. Saturn wants it, and then Capricorn full moon. Take your time. You don't necessarily have to spit it out there. And sometimes if you spit it out there, people steal their shit. They steal it all the time. On the internet, it's so crazy. I've talked about this before. Of course, on YouTube, it's crazy too. But more so, like T-shirt designs. I was doing Amazon merch before, and people, you get a hot item, and everybody's stealing it. And there's even videos how to do it. There's videos. Oh, you just alter it a little. You take that top selling T-shirt and you just alter. You're just stealing their shit. In other words, just call it what it is. Or on Etsy, when I was on Etsy, I used to have a bunch of Etsy shops too. And somebody comes up with a hot idea, and next thing you know, all these copycatters are doing, so. And that's, and they're selling. Some of them are just selling it for cost or less, just to say they're number one, And there's other people who, put their blood, sweat, and tears into creating these things, and you're just doing some cheap knockoff, And now with AI and the T-shirt thing, the AI is out of hand. I mean, I've really backed off of that. I don't really talk about that on this channel, other than a few T-shirts that I make, the mandalas and the different things. But I had a whole bunch of T-shirts, brands they call them, they're just different niche things. I was doing that for a long time, and now it's just like AI. Why even bother drawing anything? because people are just, it's all AI pretty much. They've taken over, and so they have. So we got to roll with the changes. We got to stay in this Uranus thing. But see, that's what the Saturn and the Capricorn wants you to do here. So Capricorn and even this Virgo stuff, maybe you need to go get a patent first before you go telling everybody. Not that that would necessarily stop them. Copyrights and patents don't. I mean, you have to, it's the whole thing. You got to give them a letter of, well, it's not a letter of intention, but cease and desist letters, and, then they just get another username and start doing it again. So it's hard to, things moving fast like that too. Your creations, that could be the downside of the Uranus-Venus thing, This, your creations, as soon as you put it out there, somebody's got to, doing it, stealing it, just stealing it. It's basically what they're doing, and let's just call it what it is. But they have no shame about it, Oh, I changed it, it's my own idea, and it's not, half the time it's just an AI, and whatever it is. It is what it is. So don't let the heaviness, don't let that kind of a downer vibe, which I kind of was just indulging in for maybe 30 seconds. Let's not everybody stealing, let's not go there. That going back to the very first thought of this reading is, well, I guess that I'll just move on and do something else. That's not for me anymore then. What does the universe have in store for me? I'm so excited to find out. So, and that stealing stuff, they used to call it swiping back in the day. We were taught that in graphic design when we had to do stuff by hand. You swiped it, which means you traced it. You traced over, they had photo books, now like what would be iStock or whatever, people at offices doing stuff, and you would go through these photo books and then you would trace it and kind of just rough it, roughs. But it was called swiping. That's what it was called, which if you don't know, if you think swiping is just going like this, swiping is it's a synonym for stealing, okay? But those kind of things, I don't know. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But that's the kind of thing we got to watch out for. But also, do your due diligence. Capricorn, it's like, well, let's do things right. Let's get the right people involved. Let's get let's do it right. Let's make sure that we are not going to be dethroned from the top of the mountain here, which we've worked so with Capricorn has worked so hard to climb up this whole mountain thing here, and we're not going to be knocked off. We want to make sure that we've done our things right, we're protected, that that we do everything in our power. We do everything in our power to do things right, and then release it. So some of this stuff you might want to keep it under your hat too for a minute. Also, Mercury's, it's about a week away, but Mercury's slowing down. It's going to go retrograde a week from now. If you can keep it on, if it's something that you don't want to wait, you better get it out quicker, because Mercury's going retrograde on the 18th. But maybe it's something that you need a little bit more looking into the not creative part of it, the business side of it. What things have to be in place? Do I need to become an LLC? Do I need to get this copyright trademark? Who do I need to talk to, the person that really knows how to weed through all this stuff and everything, Let's do it that way, instead of just flying by the seat of our pants, which is the temptation. The temptation is to just fly by the seat of your pants, and it's exciting and fun, which, in certain aspects, sure, it can be. But there's still this stronghold, especially on the Capricorn full moon, and this node, there's a stronghold in this earth grounding, in the earth energy here. And, all this Scorpio over here, that's very fixed also. I'm feeling for some of you, you may want to appeal to the women. If you're trying to get something done, like I'm picking up for somebody out there, or some people, there may be some kind of policy or something like that you want to see put in place. You've got to go to the mothers or the women or the caretakers or the nurses or somehow by getting them involved for somebody. This is kind of specific, but that's going to be, then your voice will be heard. That's what they are saying. When the women, the healers, whether that's your profession or not, whether you're a nurse or or not, You know, the women instinctively, not that men aren't healers too, they certainly are, and more so, but traditionally that's that, you know, that womb, you know, that protective womb, that healing energy. I'm feeling like once you get the women behind you, then, you know, the powerful women. And I don't feel like power. Maybe for some it's powerful. Maybe it's your city council, or the women on your city council, something like that. But it feels more like the powerful women who are seated in their power, who are, you know, working that sacral chakra and that root chakra. You know, they're not in their head. This is in your head. You know, they're not in their head. They're seated in their seat of power, like the Empress. Like the Empress in the tarot, you know, she's seated in her seat of power. And she's not running around like a chicken with her head cut off. She's not chasing anything. The Empress sits in her seat of power and attracts all she needs in a calm way. Very calm, very just claiming her power. You know, she's really claiming that power. So that's something that we can embrace if this becomes like just too much overwhelming, because it might be a little overwhelming. What was the other thing about that? Oh, when I put the Empress card, I was thinking of the Empress. Actually, the Hangman is has a connection with the spider because of the Norse mythology. The Hangman in the tarot, because he was Odin in the Tree of Life, and he was downloading the runic alphabet. The first known, communication through alphabets and words. But who else does the Empress thing is the spider. The spider builds their webs, and then they're in their abundance. They're not running around like the ant or whatever else, or squirrel, trying to catch something or whatever. They're doing chipmunks or anything like that. They're just chill. They're just chill, seated in their seat of power, and, you know, then the Uranian thing happens. There's a buzz on there, you know, they get a buzz. So maybe you'll get that email, maybe you'll get that creative download. It feels like for many, what I said earlier is still resonating really strongly with this, because it is earth and foundation and everything, the full moon. So there's that crack. That little crack in the wall, the little crack in the foundation, and you're peeking in there, and it just puts a different spin on things. It's just the breakthrough that you've been needing. Because there could definitely be, if you're a creative person, there could definitely be some major creative breakthroughs going on here too, all right? So major creative breakthroughs, major downloads, fulfillment of things, well, maybe not fulfillment, but culmination of things you set your intention to right around New Year's. Because I think it was the 30th again, or 31st, something like that. We had the new moon in Capricorn right around New Year's. So some of you, it could be the fulfillment, yeah, but some of you, it could be you may have to face facts like, well, I gave it my best shot, it's been 6 months, it's just not working. Because Uranus also wants you to let go. Sometimes you just got to let it go. Or find that crack and take a different approach. You know, sometimes because Virgo wants to, Capricorn, you know, oh, I'm going to climb that mountain, climb that mountain, climb that mountain. You know, one foot in front of the other, climbing the mountain. Here we go, there's the Capricorn. Ain't no mountain high enough, you know, there we go, up, 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 up and away in my beautiful balloon. I'm not singing it, but they're giving me that song. Oh... Would you like to fly in my beautiful balloon? Yeah, that's what can happen with Uranus. It's just a balloon taking off. And so we do need the grounding aspect of it. Where was I going with that? Yeah, but sometimes when you've got your nose to the grindstone, which can be a Capricorn or earth sign thing, you know, you can't see what the universe is trying to show you and offer you. Because there's offerings. There's definitely offerings. And joined with Venus, it's just like, again, so delightful. There's just this energy of being so delightful. Something really awesome if you're willing to look through a different lens. If you're willing to let go of your preconceived notions. If you're willing to, you know, speak the words of what you want to see, not necessarily what is. Instead of speaking out your to-do list, maybe speak out your manifestation list, your affirmation list. Because words are going to, and actions are going to be manifesting like a MFer, man. They really are. All right, I think that about wraps up what we're going to talk about today. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to, if you want to get a hold of me for any reason, I do personal readings. vickieverlie.com. I do, if you're into astrology, I do these several different kinds of cool astrology personalized art. You know, the mandalas, which is the aspect lines in your chart, and then I do this thing with the glyphs, and then I do this other thing. It's just sort of a collage sort of thing. So, any interest in any of that, or getting a reading, or anything else? If you like this, I would appreciate your likes and comments, you know, and hitting that thumbs up and subscribing and all that stuff. Because, you know, these have really, the views on these have faltered quite a bit too. I'm barely cracking 1,000. I don't think I've cracked 1,000 on one of these in a while. So I hope if you really like them, you know, and you want me to keep doing them, because I was considering putting them over on Patreon. I really was. So I think that's one of the problems with my channel, is that I don't do just tarot or just astrology. I do both. And I think a lot of the general public really prefers one or the other. So I'm toying with the idea, you know, talking about if it's not working out, because this whole algorithm thing, and YouTube, the platform has really, you know, it's changing a lot all the time. I mentioned in the last video, one of my other stations got demonetized. So they really want a certain kind of criteria, and you don't want to confuse the algorithm. You know, it used to be sort of this whole grassroots thing. I guess that's what TikTok is now. What this used to be, it was, and that's when I liked it more. It was just people putting up videos, and it was just kind of the Wild West and grassroots. And now it's becoming so polished and professional, and all these big, you know, these big celebrities or names are coming on. So it's changing for sure. So I've toyed with the idea, maybe I should just throw these over on Patreon, because there doesn't seem to be as much interest. Or is it just the algorithm? You're not seeing it, you know. So that's the other thing, if you want to make sure you're subscribed, because you're not. But you have to let me know, you know, because I think that may be a thing. That maybe, and then maybe make the channel just really more about tarot with a little astrology thrown in. And then the deeper dive astrology stuff, maybe throw it over on Patreon or something. Oh, I was going to say, you know, I think TikTok has become more of the grassroots video platform these days, but I just can't, it's too much for me. I'm sensitive. I'm a highly sensitive person, and it just is just too. It's like going when my kids were little. I only went a couple times, and then it was their dad's job to take the kids to Chuck E. Cheese. It was just too much. It's overwhelming. Amusement parks, no, can't do it. You know, it's too much. So to me, it's just too much stimulation. I just can't. I can't dial in on that one. It's just too much for me. So that's why I haven't jumped over to TikTok. Yeah, but I'm a long-time YouTuber, and that's my main place. It's always been my main place as far as social media goes. But anyways, if you like it and you'd like to keep it on YouTube for free, you know, let me know in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe and that kind of thing. Share, get the views up, because if it's not cracking 1,000, it's really, you know, I'm making $2 or $3 from the video, you know, and it's just like, and then it's dragging. It seems to be dragging the algorithm down, you know. It's become a thing where you got to worry about the algorithm to some extent, or not worry. There I caught myself. You've got to consider the algorithm, or it could be beneficial to consider the algorithm, which I never have. I never have. So now I'm going to try to maybe. I've been thinking about trying to move things around a little. Let me know what you think. Anyhow, have a great full moon in July. If you haven't caught the Uranus in Gemini video yet, if you haven't viewed it, check that out too. All right, have a great one, and I'll be back again soon with another video. Okay, bye.